We're back for another exciting episode of The Spicy Life. I am your relationship expert and magnetic matchmaker, Spicy Mari. And as always, we have a phenomenal episode in store for you. I have the amazing, the lovely Astrofashionista in the building for today's episode of Zodiac Sign and Interior Design. So let me give you a little bit of background on Tamari. She has been on The Spicy Life before, and she is returning to drop some knowledge on astrology. But just for those who are unfamiliar, let me get you acquainted really, really quick. Tamari is the Astrofashionista. She's a professional astrologer and modern mystic who empowers people to believe in their own magic so they can create the life of their dreams. Her vision is an inspired world where people live their purpose, experience inner peace, and the source of their own joy. So everybody, round of applause. Welcome to Mary. And many of you also may be familiar with her because she is a part of The Spicy Life. I always lean on Tamari when it comes to helping me consult with my clients on their zodiac sign and which one they're most compatible with. Tamari's assessment is always dead on when it comes to my spicy assessment. And so we always collaborate as a tag team and helping a client find love. And so for this episode, she's helping me fall in love with my home. I finally at a place where I am ready to decorate my house, redo my living room, and reached out to an expert in interior decoration, but also in astrology. So she was able to, tell me the importance of making sure that it was in alignment with my zodiac Capricorn sign. And since Capricorns are the best, I had to follow her lead. So, Tamara, you're going to tell us why my zodiac sign even matters when it comes to what I'm doing with my house.
Yes. So I think your zodiac sign should actually be taken into account with everything that you do in your life. I really believe in letting the stars kind of guide you, and without getting too complex, astrology is not only the zodiac signs. It's a very deep study, but the sun sign, which is your zodiac sign, is a great place to start because the sun in your chart represents your creativity, your vitality, some of your drive along with Mars. And so it's really important, obviously, to inspire yourself with your surroundings. Mm-hmm. So I think everyone, if they can, should at least take that into account when they're kind of decorating their home.
Love it. I love it. And then you also mentioned the fact that I should take my partner's sign into account. I was kind of just going to have you just do everything, that I wanted. And you were like, okay, well, what's your husband's, you knew that my husband was a Capricorn, but you were like, what's his birth time, right? Because you wanted to dig into the other things that are related to astrology for him.
Yeah, so I wanted to see his natal chart because I had your birth time. So I'm able to pull up your natal chart and see that even though you're a Capricorn sun, you have a Scorpio rising, which is how you come across to others. And you have a Virgo moon and your Venus is in Aquarius. So Shay, although he's a Capricorn, he's an earlier born Capricorn. So he's actually in a different decan than you are. So you guys are two different types of Capricorns. Also, we don't know his rising sign because we don't know his birth time, but he has a Scorpio moon and he has Venus in Scorpio. So I thought that was interesting because as a Scorpio rising, his planets are falling into your first house, which means you guys have a mutual understanding. So it's super important to have your environment kind of be a place where both of you guys can really enjoy each other. And it takes both of your personality and quirks into account.
Yeah, and I love that you suggested that. I should know better, but I love that you suggested that. And you're like, Mari, take into account his sign, because then I started to see the mirror effect of him starting to consider me when it came to decorating his side of the room, which is a game room and pool table. And he started asking me my opinion on certain things once he saw that I was taking an active interest in, asking his opinion if he liked certain things. And so Tamari comes over to the house and she does a little walk around. And she starts explaining to me why certain pieces should go in different places, her idea and theme for the living room, and what she wanted to see bring it to life that matched my personality and my sign. So Tamari, how did you come to the conclusion of the big aha, what the theme was going to be?
Yes. So for one, we're starting with the Capricorn. So Capricorn is cardinal Earth. And so earth signs are all about being grounded and wanting practical things, building a legacy, something lasting. Yeah. And then cardinal is really that initiative energy. So Capricorns wanting to take charge in their life and make things happen. And then it's also a sign that's connected with the 10th house and career. And so a lot of Capricorns want to see the fruits of their labor. Earth signs are, all three earth signs are different. They're all kind of security based. With Capricorn, it's more about like, I want to appear like I'm the boss. Like you guys want me
Yes.
a lot.
That.
But, that's a quality of sun in Capricorn. So I was like, okay, so how do we incorporate the glam? Because there is like a refinement, right? Because you want to see the process, everything is nice. So, but then the grounded element. So then we came up with grounded glam. So that was how the whole process of like the design theme came up. And so for me, it was like, oh, I can do grounded glam. Like anything that's high taste, it doesn't have to necessarily be expensive, but it can be very high quality or appear to be high quality, and everything is cohesive and clean and serves a purpose. Because that has to be a functional space too, because you guys are working.
Yeah. I know. And I needed it for a lot of different things. I'm like, okay, I want to create more videos and content. I want to give spicy tips. I also want to be able to entertain guests when they come over. And so finding like that balance between both, and it's still being sexy and classy, because that's really ultimately what I want. It's like sexy, classy, glamorous, and powerful. And so you started to piece together things based on the space and based on colors. And then you brought up shapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was above my pay grade, because I'm all about relationships when you started speaking about design. But it's why I call in the reinforcement. I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. But how do you know where pieces go in the house? How do you know how to decorate essentially?
Yeah, I think well, for me, I think it's in my blood. My dad's an architect, so I think that is in my blood. But then I have like Neptune trine my sun, and I have certain things in my chart that speak to like the creative side of my personality. So for me, it's more of like, it's a feeling. So I have to, and I think I just move through life like feeling things. So once I get a sense of like the energy that you and Shay have together, it's like, okay, they want this like sexy. Shay has the Scorpio element, so we need some blacks in it, but we also need like the clean look, so we want to keep it neutral, and gold will like really provide the shiny contrast for the bling. It's like more of like a feeling. And then when I actually see the space, because you kind of have to, like, you sent me pictures first.
Mm-hmm.
That gave me an idea, but now obviously I've been in your room, your living room before, but like looking at it with a design eye was a totally different process. So then I'm looking at like how the room is shaped and what would look good, and a lot of design is just contrast. So you don't want the same, like if you have a square couch, you maybe want a round circular table. If you have, you kind of want to just play things off of each other, so everything's not matchy.
Yeah.
So that's why it was important to go be in the space and just kind of feel what shapes were already up in there that we could work with.
What's wrong with matchy? Because I take after my mother in that case, and she always told me it's important to match. So I just assume we're going to make everything match, and that's the easiest way to go. What's wrong with that though? Because the part of me also does love the matching. Am I wrong for that? Is there like a rule about matching that I'm not supposed to be following?
That's such an old school thing. I think all of our parents were like, that doesn't match. And even
that coordinate.
Yeah. Matchy isn't always bad. Like, I don't think it's just, things should be effortless, because I feel like people can see when you're trying too hard. So when you're matching everything, it kind of looks like it's not effortless, and it doesn't look like that's your personality. So you want it to come off as it's like authentic, right? So I think that's why it's important to have a little bit of mess. Like, put a plant in there. Just because everything's like structure doesn't mean you can't have like a casual looking plant. Put a throw and don't make it perfect. Like just like that effortless like class, if that makes sense. I hate the word class, but
suave, rico. We can use like Feng Shui. What is Feng Shui? I hear that often like thrown around. How does that play into it?
Feng Shui is it's a Chinese technique where you take into account the location of like your bedroom and like furniture placement. And I somewhat follow it, not very accurately all the time, because they really believe that where things are placed like can contribute to your success. So like, for instance, I do tell clients this sometimes when I'm helping them with love, like if you have one nightstand, you're not inviting another partner in. So get 2 nightstands together, have 2 lamps. those sorts of things, or like having a bunch of mirrors, or the way your bed is placed against the wall. Like all of those things are kind of important in feng
Yeah.
shui. And so that's just a different ancient technique. There is a technique for astrology and decorating that I actually am not even an expert in. I just found this out in one of my astrology
Oh,
classes.
cool. What?
I'm like, I cannot wait to learn, because I'm sure it's connected to like the Mars and the planets and where they are and maybe how you lay out your house. So that's a technique that I've been doing this for 15 years. So I didn't even really know that was like a thing. I just always felt like I'll just use the person's chart, but there is a way you can actually lay out your house based on your chart too.
Well, use it on me because I want all this success and loving and additional. I want. Can we find out when are you done with the classes that you're learning all this? Because I want all of that like to be embodied in the living room. To Mary.
Yes.
No, I was saying, when are you done with the class? Because I want all of that to be.
Oh, when? The class isn't on that. It's just the professor had like mentioned it.
Oh, okay. So you're just gonna like look into it.
I'll just ask more about it and like maybe get a book and see like exactly what the technique is. But I thought that was so cool. I didn't even know that existed.
I love it. Okay, so I have more zodiac questions for you. I have to pay, homage to the fact that it's Mother's Day. So give it up to the moms. Shout out to all of the moms and all of their beautiful lives and the beautiful children that they've created. Love you, Mom. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So my question for you to Mary is, how do our parents' signs play a role in our personalities and in our lives?
Well, your parents usually are seen in your chart in some way. It's not always blatant, like your mom's this sign, but they're usually in the chart, and your relationship between your parents is in your chart. So that's a super important part because it's your foundation. Then obviously how your parents' personality is going to naturally influence how you move through life and the rules they teach you, and whether you rebel or like lean into those rules. That can usually be seen in your chart too. Like some of the indicators of your parents in your chart, like your sun sometimes is connected to your father, the moon is sometimes connected to the mother in the chart, or vice versa. Your midheaven, which is like the highest point of your chart, that kind of speaks to like your career. Sometimes that relationship between that and your IC, your fourth house, can be your parents. So there's a lot of different ways. And as an astrologer, like obviously it's like a coaching session or a counseling session. I'm asking the person, and then I'm getting information like, oh, that's your sun square your moon in your chart, which is like a typical thing where the parents might have disagreed about something, and then it manifests in you. So
and then it manifests in you.
Yeah, because the relationship obviously between your parents affects your personality. So that
this is scientific though too, from like behavioral studies and communication also, based on the environment that you grow up in. So that's interesting that it mirrors, or that you can also see the parallel in astrology with that as well. Because I do see sometimes like my Libra mom coming out in me, and I'm like, well, that's crazy. That was very momish of me. And so I've been really like wanting to dig more into how my parent signs affects me, because both of my parents were Libras, and then now I'm a Capricorn, married to a Capricorn, trying to have a Capricorn. So as we embark on this like journey of family planning, I'm very much taking into account what the sign of my child is going to be and how that affects the dynamics of our household. I want to know your opinion on that. Should I be taking that into account?
So a lot of people ask me that question. I feel like it's something you can if you want, but I also feel like you can't cheat destiny. So like you're going to get the child that God, if you believe in a higher power, wants you to have. And I believe that relationship, because there's family astrology. If you look at people in a family and their charts, there's patterns that connect all of them. And so like your child is the sign that they're born to, what their chart is, it's meant to be. And so planning that, I'm not sure how much free will we have in bringing a child into the world, because it really is an act of a miracle. Like, for all the stars to align, for this sperm to find this egg, and you know what I mean, and then the baby grow and be healthy, like that alone is an act of God. So like when we're trying to plan it, it's almost like you're taking away from nature's work. I have definitely not counseled, but like mostly friends will come to me and say, especially if they're doing like in vitro, like I want to have a baby, And I don't want it to be this zodiac sign, which I, by the way, as an astrologer, am not. I love all the signs. When you need to get pregnant in this month, if you want, but guess what? That child might have a rising sign of the sign you're trying to avoid. That child might have the moon sign.
Oh,
There's so many different. Your sign is just that just scratches the surface. There's all these things in a chart that you can't. There's no way you to plan your chart. You know what I mean? And there's
yeah.
never a perfect chart. So
I
I just say kind of leave it up to God.
I find that interesting. However, I feel like you were intentional, and I speak oftentimes in my relationship coaching to being intentional about the kind of partner that you want to attract. I feel like you were intentional about attracting a Capricorn man.
Yeah, well,
Speak on that.
I was. And I'll say it this way, even though I said I love all the 12 signs, I definitely still have my own chart. So I'm not above the astrology, and I knew what worked for me. And so for me, I had already been in a relationship with a Capricorn. My mother was a Capricorn. I have Saturn in my first house, which is Capricorn's ruler. So I come across with Capricorn like tendencies. So I think I've always had like a connection with that sign. So I had been through the zodiac. So.
And I through them.
And I'm a Taurus, and I knew the energy that worked, and I knew the synastry. So synastry is when you take one chart of a person and another part, and you put it together, and how those planets speak to each other shows their chemistry. It shows how they communicate. It shows their passion. It shows like where their friendship. It shows so much. It's very powerful to do this exercise if you have birth times, but I knew the synastry that would work for me. I knew, even though I'm a Taurus, I have a Scorpio rising too, like Spicy Mighty, someone that kind of has that spiritual understanding. So, but it's still practical. So I was like, Capricorn is good. Like they see my vision. But my husband also has a very spiritual chart. He's Pisces rising, and he has planets in Sagittarius. So it was almost like I knew the energy that would work. So I made sure I wrote that when I was trying to manifest a partner.
But there's a lot of people who are like, this is like woo woo. I don't need to really follow this when it comes to astrology. And then there's other people who are gung ho on it and who like love it. You actually helped with me like falling in love with astrology and my fascination about it. You and my sister, but she too is a Capricorn, so I always trust Capricorn and Taurus judgment. But when it comes to dating a partner, if your partner doesn't believe in astrology and you do, and you take it into account and they think that it's like fluff, how do you kind of bring them over into the world that lets them know like that there is logic and rationale to astrology?
I think people are going to be open at their own pace. So you can't really force someone to kind of believe in what you believe. I think if you, like for me as an astrologer, it was absolutely 100%. Like you need to not believe it, but at least support me doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like trying to sell your partner, like, I want to decorate. Maybe don't say that.
I want to decorate for our signs. Don't start there.
Yeah, like research it and then like make suggestions, but don't bring this up. If he doesn't believe in it or she doesn't believe in it, you're just asking for a fight. So you take it into account and maybe just present it to them, because if you did your research and you did it right, you'll know what they like based on their moon sign or their Venus, and they'll be like, okay, I like that, but they don't have to know that you researched the astrology part. But if it's one of those things where you're really like gung-ho astrology person, mm-hmm. and your partner doesn't believe at all, if it's a thing that makes you feel small, like he doesn't, mm-hmm. or he or she doesn't respect like your passions, I think that's a bigger issue. I don't think it really has anything to do with astrology,
Oftentimes I'll encourage my clients just to, whether they believe in it or not, I will say it's just fun to look it up and to learn more about it so that you can actually speak to it in it, like in a social setting, speak to it so that way, it just makes you more interesting, makes more diverse and fun conversation. And oftentimes it's, made fun of as like a pickup line, like, so what's your zodiac? But you'll be surprised at how many people appreciate someone who can actually speak on their sign. And women all the time are very flattered when a man can speak about zodiac as well. So spicy tip, fellas, look up your sign and understand who and what signs your sign is compatible with so that you can throw a little flirtation in there when it comes to approaching a woman or, having a discussion with her. It makes you more interesting. Got to say that. But like, So Mary, talk to me a little bit about how, like, I know that I take it into account when I'm matching people, but oftentimes people will tell me when they're coming into the spicy life, like, oh, I can't be set up with the sign because we're not compatible. We had a bad experience. Can you speak to, if you have a bad experience with a particular sign, why not you should revisit dating them?
Yeah. So what I said about astrology being very super complex, deep study, that's exactly the reason why you shouldn't just judge someone based on their sun sign, their zodiac sign, because this person has a whole chart, and their chart is it's just a two-dimensional representation of like what may happen in their life or what some of their strengths are, but it doesn't show what that person is actually like that. You have to experience that. Like you're not just your astrology chart. So for one,
I
you
am more
should
than
just
my sign.
wait, who?
I am more than my sign.
So you want to don't judge anyone before you meet them, and two, this person has a whole chart. So like just because they're, let's say you're a Capricorn, this is the easy example. You're a Capricorn, the opposite sign Cancer. Those are two opposite signs.
Ooh, yeah.
Opposite repel or retract. So you might not like a Capricorn, a Cancer sun per se, but what if this person has a moon in Capricorn? That's a automatically synastry point when somebody's sun is conjunct your moon. What if their Venus is in a sign that's compatible with yours? So like you just never want to write it out because you want to give it a try. Now, if you've had three bad of the same signs in a row, I can totally understand why you want to avoid. I would understand that, but I'm just saying you might find the right of the blank sign you've been avoiding, So
And who knows what they're raised by that influenced their sign and upbringing.
exactly. It's that the astrology is a guide. It's not like 100% like this is law.
I feel like a lot of us are familiar with, and sorry for having to repeat this, but we're gonna have to do it one more time because I myself always forget this element. We know about the main sign. Speak to us one more time about moon, rising, and sun, because I don't think that those get enough love, and we instantly write off someone based on what they say that they are. Oh, I dated a Leo, I'll never do it again. Well, you just mentioned the other components that we should be taking into account, but what about those who, like, we don't understand what those are? What is this rising, moon, and sun thing? Say it one more time for us.
Yeah, so for basic, if you want to go beyond sun sign astrology, the basics you want to know your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. Those are your big three in astrology.
Okay.
So the rising sign is like how you come across to others, kind of the mask you wear, how you move through the world, and it sets the ruler of your whole chart. So it sets the theme of like how you're going to move through the world. So
Yeah.
Spicy Madi and I are both Scorpio risings. The ruler of Scorpio, the traditional ruler, is Mars. The modern ruler is Pluto. Mars rules our chart. Pluto rules our chart. So everything we do is going to have some fight and grit and action. It's going to set the theme. So that's super important. So your moon sign is super important because that is about how you are emotionally. And to me, that's one of the most important things that is going to make a relationship last. So you can have two people that are compatible, let's say Capricorn and Taurus, or Leo and Aries, like the basic compatibility you'll read about on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But if moon signs aren't compatible, there's going to be a problem because emotionally you're not fulfilled. Or if your moon sign isn't making like an aspect to another planet in their chart, then you might have a problem because there's like an emotional like hole there.
Yeah.
So you want to know those three because that way you can get more. It's like getting more information about the person's personality and what they might be like. So those are super important to know.
And that's your moon.
Your moon and your rising and your sun sign. If you know those three, that's a good starting point. With relationships, if you want to take it a step further, then you want to know your Venus sign as well.
Okay, so speak to the Venus.
The Venus is all about romance. It's about your desires, like what you want in a partner, how you might be in a partnership, how you feel about money, because Venus is connected to money. So that's super obviously important when it comes to dating.
Okay. You've mentioned a lot about the emotional compatibility component, and I study a lot of that in my practice. What I want to understand is how my zodiac sign dictates anything to do with my emotions.
Yeah. So your moon is actually in Virgo. So
Like
if you
Beyonce.
just, yes,
That's a
Beyonce has a
Virgo,
Virgo sun.
I
Her sun is in Virgo. Beyonce's sun is in Virgo.
know.
Your
Okay.
moon is in, emotionally, you are more like a Virgo.
Okay.
And it's not like black or white. So you can't just say like, and this is the problem when you're Googling on the internet, because you're just getting the sentence for that moon in Virgo. You're not getting, it's a blend of all these different elements in your chart that are all coming together to make your personality. So with moon in Virgo, it's someone that it's another earth sign. So someone that's practical, emotion, you need to be secure in a relationship. You need to feel like you have like a stable home, but you also need a lot of change because Virgo is a mutable sign. So it's an earth sign that is more flexible. So even though you want routine, you want fun within that routine. You want things to be boring. You are detailed, you meticulous about certain things, particularly at your home, because the moon is connected to your home. So in a relationship,
Wow, that makes sense.
you're going to need someone that kind of understands that. And it can be very picky and judgmental too, energy. So it can be one of those things where you're really hard on yourself, but you're also equally as hard on your partner. So Shay has his moon in Scorpio. That's a water sign. So earth and water are compatible elements. The Scorpio has a different type of moon. It's actually considered to be in detriment, the moon in Scorpio, because are actually in fall, because it's exalted in Taurus and Scorpio is opposite Taurus. So moon in Scorpio is very like secretive, and they don't easily express themselves. So and Mars rules Scorpio traditionally. So it's a little bit of like a fight when they're mad. Like they get really irritated, but they keep it bubbling under the surface. And then sometimes it explodes later and you're like,
Right.
what happened here?
It looks passive aggressive, like later on holding on and unleashing their wrath. Yeah.
Exactly. It can be holding grudges because it's fixed energy. It can be very emotional, but not wanting to come across as emotional because it's that stoic Mars, Scorpio. So when you put the two, Virgo and Scorpio moon together, yes, they are compatible because earth and water, but they're still two different natures. So you have to make sure that you cater to Shay and just, give him a little bit like the nurturing and the softer side. And then he also provides you with security because that's a very loyal sign, Scorpio. So that Scorpio moon is like, I have your back. So it actually is a pretty decent matchup moon sign wise.
I think like what you're saying is so important. I love what I'm hearing because I don't think that we take into account our compatibility enough with Zodiac. And some of the things that I'm hearing you say are actually fundamentally important when it comes to there being conflict resolution or understanding someone's communication patterns or even understanding what energy or your way of being is necessary in those moments when you're not hunky-dory and everything's, bubblegum and butterflies in your relationship. And so if you can take into account your person's sign, but also what kind of, communication they need or kind of space or, distance, or maybe they need you to lean in, maybe they need you to, put a little space in between them. You have to take all that into account. And that's also a part of making the dynamic of relationships work, though, is guiding your partner, guiding your purpose mate so that you guys can be more intimate, so that you can be closer. But a lot of it helps, and it's a lot easier when you understand them first. And first step before that is even understanding yourself, right?
Exactly.
So if someone wants to learn more about things are nuts right now, right? It's with everything that went on with just COVID-19, people being in isolation, the market right now has been hot like fire for people wanting to do self-work and self-growth, and our consultations are going nuts. I know you feel me because you're in my world. So people are really looking for answers right now during COVID-19 or Corona season, as we have been calling it. Speak a little bit to how different signs would be affected by what's going on with quarantine.
So again, I think that speaks more to your specific chart, but I can give generalizations because obviously there is this energy of like the sign itself and like what what it has an affinity towards. So for instance, Cancer rules the home. So the easiest thing to say is that a Cancer is going to enjoy being at home. But what type of Cancer is this person? Like, is this a Cancer with a Sagittarius rising or Gemini rising where they can be stir crazy in the house? Is this a Cancer with a different moon sign? You see what I'm saying? So like I can make the generalizations that yes, they might enjoy being at home because Cancer rules the home, but we are going to process this time differently. The signs that are probably having the most difficulty that I will say are signs that are very like action oriented or people oriented. So that would be Mercury ruled Gemini. That would be even Mercury ruled Virgo, just because of that, like needing to like get out and exercise and that sort of thing. It could be Sagittarius, because Sagittarians love freedoms. They hate being restricted, most of them. That's like a big thing about Sagittarius. And I'm trying to think what other sign I would say. Maybe Libra, because Libra is our social sign. It's a Venus ruled sign, but it's an air sign that is all about partnerships and people. So if you can't connect physically, although technology obviously makes it easier, those signs might be having a little bit more difficulty than, let's say, Taurus. My sign, I'm not saying all Tauruses are okay in this, but for me, I've really been able to like get into the routine, and we love routine. So I'm in the routine of quarantine, you know, like wake up, go to the desk, you know, like, and you know, my husband Capricorn, he's fine in it. He has his routine. He's like, as long as he can still do what he enjoys, he's fine. So, you know, it's case by case, but I think all the signs are obviously handling different.
Why would I be struggling then? Because well, maybe I know the answer for that, but like, what does my sign have to do with me? Like, I am working hard. I'm fine throughout the days, like, because I have routine. I think that's maybe Capricorn. But then come time where I've like done as much work as I can, I'm like a vampire right now, like desiring blood in the sense of desiring social life. I haven't gone out. I haven't done my normal, like throwing parties or, you know, going to events. The stuff that I actually crave and enjoy is that interaction and connection. Hunting, actually, you know, part of my job is like the hunting, taking my clients out. I'm really, really missing that. What on my chart speaks to that? Is that my Scorpio? Why am I tripping with this?
Well, because you have your sun in your third house and your moon in your 11th house. So the basics of astrology are planet, signs, and houses. That's the very basic. So it's what planet, what sign is that in, and what house is that planet in as well. So the house speaks to the area of your life that energy might be more visible or more frequent. So with your sun in the third house is all about connecting with people. It's about networking. It's about getting out in your neighborhood. It's about traveling and moving around. So your sun in Capricorn needs to be social. So that's a different expression of a Capricorn sun versus a Capricorn that has the sun in the 8th house or the 12th house, where the 12th, they are fine with being at home. So that is one reason. And then your moon, what you need emotionally is in the 11th house of other people in social groups and networking. And so you're by nature a more social person just because of where those planets are placed in your chart.
Got it. Okay. So see, I know I was like, no, I'm not crazy, but like I'm ready to break free and be out. So for some people at home that are struggling, since we keep talking about house, so now I'm going to go back to like house, home. Since you are decorating my house right now, and I'll show you guys like in a little corner up here what you created to make this a more luxurious and lovable experience for me while I am at home, my safe haven. What are some tips that people can be doing just on their own until they're ready to hire you or ready to be back out, you know, socially when it comes to their house? What are different things within their house in the decor that they can be doing right now in isolation?
Yeah. So for me, like I can't even fathom living in a place that I don't like coming to see. So this is going to be important more to certain people more than others, but I think in general, most people would choose to have a house that they like to be in.
Yeah.
I think this is the perfect time to make small changes that can make that space work for you. So the easiest thing you can do to change your space is paint. That's the cheapest and quickest thing you can do.
Okay. Tip number 1, paint, guys.
Because for one, if the color and the background is like not something that's inspiring or it's too dark. I mean, you can change that with paint. So I think that would be the first thing that I would do if I was home and I had more time. And it's not that hard. Like painting it fresh is very simple. Watch a YouTube video. The next thing you want to do is make sure that your layout is actually working for your lifestyle. So maybe your lifestyle was in a job where you were constantly out traveling, but now you have to be home more, and your job might be working from home to the end of the year. We're hearing about companies
Oh
that
my
aren't.
gosh, that's crazy. It's crazy to think about that.
People go back. So you might be working at home for the end of the year. So are you going to stay in a place where that's not practical for you to work? So
Great points. I hope you guys are listening to this. Please pay attention to what she's saying. You may be home for the rest of the year. Are you going to continue living this life? You chose this life. You can make the best of it. She's saying, are you going to continue being in a place that you're not comfortable or excited to be in? Okay, next one. Mary, this is great. I'm loving this.
yeah, so I would think like if you're working from home, separate your work and your sleeping space if you can. I know everyone doesn't have the luxury to have like a big space, but it's not even about size. I mean, I've lived in a tiny studio and made it fabulous, but you need to like separate it because there has to be a cutoff time where you're like, okay, I'm done working. Now I'm going to relax and enjoy my space. So I would say that would be number two, have a dedicated workspace right now if you're working from home. Um, Three, work with what you have. Like you don't have to spend a lot of money to make your place fabulous. You literally can repurpose things. So paint again can transform. Like if you have an old coffee table and you can make it more glam, let's say it's glass and the glass comes off, spray paint the base of it and then change the look of it through the color. If you have some old fabric or you're crafty, or you can buy even like like if you're not a sewer, you can find the glue that kind of like sticks fabrics together. Make some cool pillowcases out of like an old dress or something. Like there's things that you can do right now to make small changes without spending any money. And that's shop your house. It's called shopping your house. I love doing that. It's like, oh, let me find this old like vase that I had. Let me get some Dollar Tree flowers. You know, like you can spruce it up, and there's so much now like on YouTube or Instagram or Pinterest like for inspiration. Like I would say pin your life, like what are you attracted to, and then start translating that into what can work in your everyday space.
And it sounds like you can do it for under a budget, like what you were just saying right now. It doesn't have to be expensive. And I think oftentimes we start to think that, or we tell ourselves we can't before we even try. And we start talking ourselves out of why we shouldn't even improve upon some of the things that we're uncomfortable with or that we don't like. And we start looking for excuses so that we don't have to do the work. And we discourage ourselves before we even do any research and find out if that's the truth or just a belief that we have and an excuse that we're using.
Yep, totally. It's easier than you think. It just takes a little bit of like motivation and commitment, like anything in life. Like your space that you're in can really be make or break your productivity. I really believe that. I believe that if you make your bed every day, that's one task off the list that's going to set you up for success. So if you really are committed to changing your life, it starts at home. It starts with you. Like it's the little things that you have to be good at to move mountains. If you can't even get basics right in your life,
if you can't even do basic
basics, like how do you plan to run? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying like you can hire an assistant, but it's like there's little skills in life that set you up. They represent something bigger. So like get your life together at home because it's going to make you more productive every day.
Let's speak a little bit though on gender norms. I think that for a very long time, men have gotten away with the excuse of, I'm a man. Who cares what my place looks like? I'm rugged, that's girly. Only women care about interior decoration. False, and false. That as far as it being like a woman thing, although it does have to do with elements of vanity, some may say, or I guess liking what you see. But I'm like, men like to look at beautiful things too. So what words would you say for the men out there who are discouraged to even try or get creative and do decoration because they think that it's like a girl thing?
Yeah, I think you should do what naturally fuels you or what excites you. So if you don't care about decor, there's nothing wrong with that. That's like not everyone's going to care about that. But if you want to make an effort to making your place look better, there's nothing like that's not masculine about it. You know what I mean? It's like that's about caring more about like your lifestyle, which I think a lot of women or men would find attractive. So I think and by the way, there's men that have, you know, they might have a Venus in Libra and have a great artistic, you know what I mean? So like that's also in your chart as well. So I wouldn't say don't let it discourage you. I think it's more about caring about your entire life and how making it as efficient. Look at it as an efficiency. I feel like that's a word that maybe some men might identify with, like being more efficient. So if your space is better, you can be more efficient. So yeah, I think it's just, if there's nothing male, masculine, you just do what makes you feel good. Surround yourself with like nice things so you feel good.
Well, I love that. Surround yourself with nice things that you feel good. What about the element of energy? So you and I are always talking about energy, and I'm always sharing with my clients their masculine and feminine energy and how to find a balance, which one to lean into in order to serve the relationship goal. So in order to serve the interior home design goal, what energy should they be leaning into, or should it be a balance of some feminine elements and some masculine elements within the home?
I think it's definitely a balance, especially if you are a person that's not like a complete, and I'm going to use gender terms because this is what we're talking about, but like if you're a girly girl, if you're not a girly girl, then you want to mix both masculine and feminine elements in your home. And the same thing with men. There, it can't just be all hard and rugged and straight lines and cold and no warmth, because we all need both masculine and feminine energy.
Yep.
We need both.
Yep.
So I think surrounding yourself, even if you're single and you live alone right now, let's say you're a man and you are looking for a wife, or you just want a girlfriend, like, and your place is like cold, the colors are cold, there's no like fabric. Like, I think if you're you're wanting to bring a potential woman that could be your wife into your home, make it comfortable for her. So throw a nice throw down so that when she gets cold, you're like, let me put this on you, and then you can cuddle underneath the throw. Or maybe you have like some nice shiny object, like a shiny globe, and you're like, girl, this is where I'm gonna take you to travel the world.
Ooh, some various dishes, some spicy tips right now, fellas. I hope you're listening.
Like, you just want to make it so that this person feels like they're invited, you know, and obviously there's male relationships, female. So do what works for you, but like, just keep another person, like we talked about earlier in the show, just keep another person in mind, because it can't just all be about you. You know, you're creating a space for like, hopefully a partner.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. Because similar to the way that our home makes us feel, the time that we spend with people and the home that we bring them into makes them feel as well. So what emotions do you want to evoke when people come into your home? How do you want to guide their emotions with the presence of your home? What do you want them to feel when they have their experience of you? Is it passion? Is it strength? Is it warmth? What is it that you would like to evoke from them? And decorate your home in regards to that. And it can be a balance of masculine and feminine energy. I feel like mine is. I definitely feel like the way that Tamari has decorated my place, because she's given me the whole visual layout of what to buy. She gave me, you know, the earth glam look. And so, is that what we're calling it? Earth glam?
Grounded glam.
Grounded glam. Same thing, earth glam, grounded glam, but grounded glam, I feel like is a great incorporation of both. I have my high and my low. I have my warm and my strong. I have my, you know, masculine competition going on with, you know, the mountain, but then I also have my, you know, feminine allowing, leaning into some of, you know, those whites and soft gold, you know, palettes with the light textures. And I think texture is a huge one that you also mentioned. When I'm touching different things, touch is also one of our five senses that makes you feel something. So I love when you said have like that throw blanket or, you know, over, because touch is one of our, you know, important senses that also, you know, triggers our nerves, that makes us want to spend more time with someone or to experience something. It creates, you know, muscle memory as well, because now we associate that feeling with that person.
Definitely. That's so important.
Ty, you are dishing some nuggets. People are going to want to sign up for this phenomenal interior decorating by the sign service. Where do they go if they do want to inquire and see like what it would look like for you to design their home based on their sign?
you can come to my website. It's astrofashionista.com. So that's just astro, ASTRO, and then fashionista.com. So just contact me there.
I love it. Okay. And we're not going to let you leave us without you answering some spicy questions. You got to give us a little bit of the naked truth before you dip out on today's episode. So you're going to tell us really quick, answer these 3 spicy questions on the naked truth. And it's a would you rather. Would you rather marry an incompatible zodiac sign or have an incompatible zodiac child?
Incompatible zodiac child.
Oh, okay. So the sign of your partner is more important than, like, you'd be more risking the sign of your child, but you can't compromise the sign of your partner.
Yeah, and
okay.
I think that's because I have to be in a relationship, like I'm becoming one with another person, where my child is his own identity, or she, and she's going to go off into the world anyway. So her path for herself or his self is more important than what I think the path should be. I don't know. So yeah.
Okay, I love that. You're like, someone else is going to have to marry my child's sign. So let me make sure my partner's good. Okay, next one. Would you rather be rich and ugly or beautiful and poor?
I'd rather be rich and ugly.
Why? You have to explain why.
And that is because, well, for one, you can do a lot with money to make it. And 2, I could do more things to make the happiness come from, like, experiences, versus being poor and pretty and nothing, just sitting at the house like
it's cute at home alone. No.
Like, at least I'm living ugly.
Quarantine would you rather be stuck in quarantine for a year with your husband? You can't go anywhere except for, like, maybe just Rob's. Or would you rather be stuck in Paradise Island with your best friends, but you don't get to see your husband for a year?
My husband for sure.
Shady, that's shady Taurus. No. I'm joking. I know you would choose your husband over.
I married him because I know that I could stand to be around that much.
Yeah, you probably would be done with all of your friends. Like, within the first week, you'd be like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, arguing in Paradise. Yeah.
That within itself would be its own reality show. We need to do that. Get a reality show where we put all of these crazy incompatible signs together and see if they can survive on Paradise Island. It'll be like Survivor Zodiac style.
I'm probably working on that right now. We'll see.
Probably. Okay, Dot, one more time. Let us know one more time where we can find you. Give us your social too.
Okay, so you can find me at astrofashionista.com. So ASTRO fashionista.com, and then you can follow me on IG at astrofashionista. All my social handles are astrofashionista.
All right, and you guys can always play with my Twitter or stroke my Instagram at SPICYMADI. If you guys are interested in signing up for any of these fabulous services when it comes to interior decorating or your astrology sign, please make sure that you hit up Astrofashionista. You can also come to the Spicy Life for relationship coaching and magnetic matchmaking, and then get an opportunity to get your sign read as well and get your chart read by the amazing Astrofashionista. Make sure that you guys play with my Twitter and stroke my IG once again at SpicyMadi. And there you guys have it. You have just been spiced.
The Spicy Life.